So it was just with the owner and a couple of the workers that worked there, and they kind of just helped fill me in on what their daily activities are, what the needs are of the workers, what they would like to see within the space, and I kind of just work with them there. Um, the meeting room is a glass panel, so it's kind of, there's no privacy. And also
Okay.
their money was, they were tight on budget, so they couldn't really, change that whole glass wall for their meeting room. So my suggestion there was to add a vinyl sticker on top of it to give it some sort of light to come through, but privacy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost has a frosted glass look effect.
Yeah. Okay, that's really smart. I really like how you overcome these challenges by coming up with these really innovative solutions, especially
Hmm.
when it comes to it being a tight budget. Okay, I think this is good for this project. And then you talked in the beginning about the bear in hats one. That it
Hmm.
was a really quick project that I think I had some trouble. So it was less than a week, and you just created the concept design. So you weren't directly hired by Baron Hats because you said something about there being a friend in the middle. So was your friend hired to do this, and then she or he, whoever they were, asked you for consultation?
No, so the owner of Baron Hats asked my friend's friend if he knew any interior designers or designer. And so he hired my friend. And my friend, she's not an interior designer. She's just a graphic designer. So I worked
Okay.
with her to come up with a concept design for the space and created the
Okay.
3D renderings. Um, it was definitely more than what they were expecting because they were more expecting of a space plan or like maybe a mood board. So I did more work than needed, but in the end, they didn't go with the design because they were having issues with trying to purchase that unit because I think they were competing with someone else that was trying to buy that same unit.
Okay. So did they pay you for this work?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a project, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you consulted with the graphic designer to
Mhm.
basically create a 3D rendering of this space. What
Mhm.
were the challenges? Because I was reading in your portfolio resume, and it was very interesting how it was a multi-purpose space where they wanted people to buy hats, and people could see how hats were being made, and then there was an entertainment area for people to just chill. So can how? So this seems very challenging and unique. You know, how did
Yeah.
you go about it?
Um, so this space is in the Arts District of LA. There are some features within the space already that's architecturally there that
Okay.
we can't move because it's the construction within the building, you can't move it. So, for
Yeah, obviously.
example, if you're looking at the project right now, there's a giant X in front of the glass window panel behind the
Uh,
POS counter. And that was
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
challenges of designing the space while having that X there. Um,
Okay, yeah. That's pretty random.
yeah, it's pretty random, but we were trying to see what we can do with it to make it look, go with the design. And so we chose a rustic industrial look because Baron Hat's branding is also very industrial. It's always changing with fashion over time. Um,
Hmm.
and so we wanted to go with this rustic look. And yeah, you're right. The challenges were that the space was very strange to us, the concept of having it be a retail and a warehouse where you can see how hats are made, and then at night having it become a kind of like a entertainment area where people would have speakeasies or hold little concerts and things like that. And so the challenge was just space planning overall because the unit was not that big either, and also having space for the back bar and the bathroom.
Okay, so how did you overcome these challenges?
Um, so we figured that the hats on display can display all of the hats that are currently in for the season. And then
Mm-hmm.
once it's out of season, it'll go into the making hats workshop space. And then that's where we were kind of like, well, how much room does each machine need? So we kind of just did the research there and research each of the machines that they would use in the workshop and how much space each person would need, and the workshop table in the center. And then the speakeasy, their only request was that there would be a stage for someone to give a speech or sing up there, and also
Mm-hmm.
just have abundant amount of seating in the space, which we have 2 lounge chairs and
Okay.
a couple bar stools and sofas. And there's one outside of the speakeasy space, but that's for a more intimate space where if the customer wanted to have like a more intimate talk with someone, they would walk to the workshop area and talk there.
Okay, so I'm just a little confused by something. You said in the beginning when you were explaining this design that the hats would be there would be a space for the hats, and then once they were out of season, then that space would be converted into a workshop table
Oh
area.
no,
So the
they would move the hats to the workshop area.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So, you basically designed a space for all three elements.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. You know how you manage in that in it was as you said it wasn't even a big space, and then there was a
Mhm.
giant X. So
Yes.
that's really cool. Were there anything else that you might remember that you did to address these challenging design factors?
Um no, not really. Although the only issue is that they didn't give us an actual blueprint. So a lot of these measurements I had to guess by, what the general sizing of it would be.
Okay, so you have to guess them.
I had to guess, because the general sizing for a door width would be 3 feet in a retail space. So I had to guess that um, just by, so they sent us videos and pictures within the space rather than giving us an actual blueprint, only because they
Okay.
were in such a time crunch, and also they just didn't have it. And that's something that would be time consuming when they needed it ASAP.
Okay. And were they impressed with what you guys created?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. I think moving on, we have parent hats, and then the next was Starbucks, which you said was something that you just created for a college project.
Hmm.
So for things like these, Starbucks and Marine Layer and Chandler Home, so was it like you were giving assignments? You know how at the end of college, at the end of the semester, you're given a project or you have to write a paper. So was it that sort of thing that they asked you, okay, we want you to design one residential area, one retail space. Was it that sort of thing?
Yeah, so Starbucks and Marine Layer were from my retail design class, and they were both,
Okay.
yeah, they were both finals. Starbucks was a little bit more fun though because that was our final project, and that one was a competition between other students within
Okay.
the region that was in interior design. And so
Oh,
we did get to visit the exact Starbucks location they were trying to redo,
okay.
because Starbucks was going through a phase where they wanted to be more sustainable in their design, change out
Yeah.
all the old Starbucks. And so that's where we came in as students, and we had a competition between other students within that region, or I don't know if other actual interior designers were involved, but that's
Okay.
where it was fun because it was a competition, and the Starbucks manager or corporate manager, whoever is responsible for overseeing the competition,
Mhm.
would come to our presentation to see if there was anything that stood out to him or if he liked something, which in the end, not one student won, it was two or three, and they didn't
Okay.
fully use the entire design. They just picked items they liked in each student's design
Yeah.
and incorporated it with the actual store.
So you
And
participated in
designers
that.
from, yes,
Okay. Okay. Um, and then so I'm sorry, you said these were both for which class?
Starbucks and Marine Layer are for a retail design class,
Okay.
and the Chandler home was just a residential design class. It was a different class.
Okay, a residential design class. I just wanted to get that down. Okay. So this was also a final project or just a normal project?
Yeah, final project actually might be a midterm project for Starbucks, and Marine Layer was my final project for the class.
Okay. You earlier said that Starbucks was the final project.
Oh, I meant to say is Starbucks was not a final project. It was like
Okay.
midterms or something.
Okay. Okay. And Marine Layer and Chandler Home would be final project.
Marine Layer for sure is a final project. I don't know if Chandler project was a final project or just a midterm project, but
Okay,
it
that's
it
fine.
was one of the projects.
Okay, sure. That's good enough. Was there anything that particularly challenging about, especially the Chandler home? You chose to work, chose a cabin in the woods. So was there any just, factors there, especially because now you're working with environmental factors, right?
Mhm. Um, so the Chandler home was challenging because we had to design the space based off of a client profile that our professor had given us. And
Okay.
so with that, I kind of took away that, it's a home away from home, kind of. It's like a vacation home. And so they
Okay.
had young kids, and I wanted the space to be fun. So that's why
Okay.
the concept is hidden treasures. So there's a lot of stowaway beds, multi-purpose uh,
Mhm.
tub and shower for both upstairs and downstairs, hidden rooms where the dad can have a quiet time away from the kids, um,
Oh,
behind the books.
okay. I can relate to that. Uh, okay, I understand that. Do you remember what semester or what year these projects were in? I'm not sure if we should because you graduated a long time ago and these were college projects. But maybe if there is space, or if I feel that maybe that we should, then I just want to ensure that I have all the information. So, do you remember when
Sorry, well, when was what?
the dates for these projects? What semester or what year you did them?
Um, they were, I don't know about the residential one, but the Marine Layer and Starbucks was my senior year there.
Oh, Okay. Okay. That's good enough. And then what do we have next? And then we have the South Coast Visas and Passport Inc., which you said was a family business that you then sold. So you
Mhm.
graduated in 2013,
Mhm.
and I have some internships for 2012. So as soon as you graduated, you started working for the family business.
Yes.
So you worked there for 3 years. Did you help your parents start it, or why did
So
you?
what? So the issue was I graduated and then some unfortunate events happened. My mom passed away, and so I
Okay,
had
I'm
to take
sorry.
over the business because I'm an only child and my dad was the only other parent running the business. So I had to put my dreams aside and not focus on anything else but that business itself. Um,
Okay.
and so I basically managed and ran the business. It was a three or four person business. So at one point I had two part-time workers and they would just sit in the office and do I don't even remember what the word they
Well, they worked.
yeah, they worked. So they just worked with customers coming in who are come from businesses trying to get a visa to certain countries before
Okay.
they can fly out.
Okay. So you basically help people apply for visas and passports.
Yes.
Okay. So when you took over, because I'm sure when your mother passed away, your dad probably he was very grief stricken, so you had to take over a lot of the responsibilities. What challenges did you find when you took over? Was there something that you were there for 3 years? So in those 3 years, how did you improve the business? How did you streamline operations? Did you improve customer service in some way, or maybe create manuals and forms to make things easier for people, especially if they're applying to a country where they don't understand the language? So how did what challenges did you address basically?
Um, I would basically say everything was a challenge there because it was my first time managing any business. Um,
Yeah.
so it was, I learned quickly only because I had to.
Okay.
A lot of, it was easy only because my mom's part timer was there to help me kind of just guide me through everything and the process of how visas work. Um,
Okay.
it and also just a family friend who also worked in the same building, but
Okay.
she was in a different. She was just a travel agent. She wasn't a visa passport
Okay.
agent or
So
things like that.
okay. So my question is, was there anything you did in that time that we could, that somehow relevant to your current field? Because what you're doing right now as an interior designer is very completely different, right? So I'm just thinking
Mhm.
that maybe there's some transferable skills that we can, show that in your how that they're relevant to your current field.
Um, I not sure any of my experience would be relevant with anything else. I mean, one of the challenges was that my mom was very old school, so that a lot of the times the form of payment that she took at the company was cash only or check. And so
Okay.
with that, when I took over the business, I changed it to where we accepted credit cards
Okay.
rather than just check and cash.
So you
Um,
modern
sorry, go ahead.
I think so. You modernized the operations and the place.
Mhm.
Okay. So if I have any questions about this experience, I can email you. Would that be fine?
Yes.
Okay. So you worked until 2016, and then sold the business, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have the two internships, the Lee Jofa one and the Brunswick. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Lee Joseph and Brunswick is one company.
Oh, okay. So, when I looked it up, it showed up as two different companies.
Oh, because I worked at the San Francisco Design Center and they were one combined company together. It was one showroom, and I just worked as an intern there.